What is the legacy of Dr. Manmohan Singh?
Two things here. Number one, his mantra of about India's economy, and that was that India's entrepreneurship of Indian people is absolutely immense. It can achieve anything. If you talk about his financial decisions, which he took from 1991 onwards, and to the end of his second term, which was in 2013, when a new FDI policy was launched, and when he said very famously that money doesn't grow on trees, this whole his effort to give Indians a chance to flourish. Number one. Number two, the policies which were built on this economic power, which India was becoming slowly, was that right to information, right to education, Aadhaar, Manrega, right to food. Now, all these policies we have seen in the last 10 years, the critics of these policies have been implementing those policies with double the zest, with double the power. So that is the legacy he's left. That India is a country where, by economic reforms, you can unleash the spirits, he used to say, of a country, but then to redistribute it among the people on different ways. He was not only an economic reformer, he was also a democratic reformer. He wanted India to be a democratic power and a modern democratic power. And that is what we have been seeing, the kind of laws which have been enacted during his time. We see only in very rich countries. If you go to Nordic countries, I mean, they have these kinds of power of gender, of geography, of information. These powers, he wanted everyone to enjoy those powers. And that's what he has been saying all along his life. But due to people wanted that power from him, there was a lot of tug of war, and sometimes very ugly. And I was also witness to that. And that is over. And I hope that he had seen that in his own life. I just met him a few months back when he was quite ill, and the humility with which he wielded that power was that he could not get up from his chair, but he wanted to get up from his chair and wanted to see me off to the porch where my car was waiting. So that's the kind of a person we are dealing with, and only very few people in this country, people like Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, they realized the goodness of Manmohan Singh, and they stuck with him and they supported him all along. Otherwise, many people could not understand. He was like an elephant that five blind men are trying to figure out what that person was.
What sort of a schedule did Dr. Manmohan Singh keep? I mean to say, you travel with him all over the world. The job of the press advisor is both formal and intimate at the same time. You know, it's a very tough job. So how did you deal with a man who was so reticent in terms of, as you very rightly said, giving interviews? So how did you, to use the word of journalism, flesh him out for the journalists?
We used to joke in our office with senior officers that we were all younger to him. He was in his late 70s and early 80s, and we couldn't keep up with him. At 8 in the morning, the office will open, and he'll be at work until 8 in the evening, at least 12 hours. We were all on like standby, and trying to talk to him about, when I remember when I went with the whole plan and to tell him that the government needed a social media policy. So at that time, there was only one department of the government which was very active on social media, and that was the Ministry of External Affairs. And we were the only office which went on social media after that. And he discussed with me, and I explained things to him, and he said very simply that I am unable to grasp the importance or what you are saying, but you are a professional, and I'm sure that you will do a very good job. And I give you all my blessings. That's what his attitude was, that he found good people, and he gave them power. Unlike many world leaders, he did not want to be personally uh, glorified about what he did. When I joined, I remember I was told by the principal secretary that your budget is not even 1 rupee. I didn't spend even 1 rupee in 28 months. I was there from office accounts. I used to call journalists and for tea and coffee and sometimes samosas and pakoras, and that money used to come from the pocket kitty of snacks which were distributed for the officials of the Prime Minister's office. Not 1 rupee, he said very clearly. I do not want to be seen as someone who is using the perks of this office. I don't need it. My work will speak for itself. So it was very difficult to talk to him. I remember the last press conference he had, and I believe you were also
Yes,
present at that press
yes.
conference. Uh, we had made a list of about 100 journalists, and I went to him before the press conference that this is the questions they'll be expecting. He'll be expecting to answer. And I remember it was about a 26-page long dossier of 100 questions about the whole, his entire 10 years of work and whatever we had anticipated. He looked through the pages and then said, like, I know all this, and you don't worry, I'll handle it. And he handled that very well. So when it came to speaking to the press, he could handle anything. I mean, all kind of tough questions people asked him. Not a single question was planted. Not I did not talk to any of the journalists which were there. I just, I had so much trust in him and his ability because he had actually done the work and he knew what work he had done. And he was so confident about it. And he just sat there for more than an hour and asked, and he answered every question. People ran out of questions after that, I remember. And then he said, okay, fine. And he didn't even talk to me after that press conference, that how did it go? I said, I have said whatever I had to say. They have asked whatever they had to ask. And but you remember a number of answers he gave in that press conference were taken up very badly by the opposition at that time. But he was totally unfazed because of the confidence, because of the courage of his conviction, because of his hard work. He didn't need to tom his work, and he didn't need to glorify himself. He didn't need to grandstand because he said that my work will work. It will speak
Wa-
about whatever.
was he ever bitter about the sort of scathing attacks that were being launched by then uh, leader of opposition, Raj Sabha, Lok Sabha? Was he ever?
He was he was not bitter. He was pained. He felt that pain that people are attacking him because they wanted the seat he was sitting in. And he understood it very well that this was not personal because personally he had very good relations with people, even his opposition and opponents. I remember the last meeting of Telangana bifurcation happened, and leaders of the BJP were called to that meeting. Mr. Advani was there, Mr. Jetli was there, Srimati Swaraj was there, and at that time they were every day they were saying something really uh, bitter about him, but he met them with a smile, and he said afterwards that everyone has to be on board. This is something which is going to be historic for the country, and this cannot be undone. We are taking a very big decision, and all the people who are stakeholders have to be involved in that decision. So he took it in his stride, sometimes with a pinch of salt, and sometimes very amusingly. You will be shocked that sometimes all this bitterness which was going on the media at that time, he will just laugh about it. He'll just ask me, "So, Pankaj, what is the state of play?" And I'll tell him that so and so done this and so written that. I said, "You forget reading the papers." He said, "I have not read the papers much, and I'll make a brief for him whenever possible and discuss with him. And sometimes I'll tell him we should do this and we should do that. And he was the kind of person who refused to go to media functions. I remember that, a lot of media people wanted to invite him to the conclaves and the summits they have. And he'll say there are more people who can talk about these subjects than me. And I'm sure they'll find someone opportune and someone who can, discuss all these things. And not like to go. So it was decided that at least once a year he should go to one. And that was for me, was a big win at that time if he agreed to go to one such function in a whole year.